Defense is a fundamentally important skill in any fighting game, but in Dragon Ball FighterZ, it has a special connotation. When we talk about a player who has strong defense, you might think of someone like Goichi or Jonathan Tene, who can sit in a corner and block every mix-up known to mankind, seemingly for minutes on end. What if I told you it's possible to train yourself to have defense like those players? If you could block everything that is reactable. Hi, I'm CD Mangaka, a competitive Dragon Ball FighterZ player and TO from Denver, Colorado, and this is the first episode in my series called Competitive Concepts, where I'm going to be exploring the game Dragon Ball FighterZ and talking about various aspects of it, or some exercises you can do, or various tech that you can use to help you be a stronger competitor in the game as we move forward throughout 2021. So without further ado, let's get talking about why we hate blocking so much, and why we should stop hating it. What do I mean by that? Well, if you ask anybody like why they play fighting games, you might get answers like, oh, they love to mix people, they love to do cool combos. Never is anyone ever going to tell you it's because they love to block. Usually when people block, they might get antsy. They feel like it's not their turn and they want to get back into the game. Dragon Ball FighterZ, they might resort to doing a couple of risky things. Something like reflect into a mash, or vanishing out of pressure, or even just waking up with a dragon punch to try and take the turn back. People hate blocking. Maybe you've heard that in your own circle of friends. The big thing about this is that we gotta change our perception. Instead of thinking about defense as this passive thing, or as this it's not your turn kind of a thing, you have to think of it as your opportunity to defend against the opponent and to beat them by not letting them beat you. I think a good way of changing our perceptions about this is a quote from the martial artist Bruce Lee. There's a book out there called Striking Thoughts. It's a collection of a bunch of different writings he's done throughout his entire life. And there's a chapter on perception that I think has two quotes that we can relate to this kind of mindset that I'm trying to teach you in Dragon Ball FighterZ. The two quotes are as thus: require not just a moment of perception, but a continuous awareness, a continuous state of inquiry in which there is no conclusion. When you are awake, you must be fully awake and conscious about everything. This is a wonderful mental exercise. That sounds all cool, but how can we relate this to Dragon Ball FighterZ? Well, the idea here is that when we are defending, we must be awake, we must be aware of everything, and we always have to be inquiring as to what our opponent can do to try and open us up. If we just hold down back passively and we wait for our turn, we're going to miss what our opponent is trying to do to us. We're going to miss if they're staggering to look for us to mash out. We're going to miss if they're throwing out a Dragon Rush or a 6M. We're not paying attention to their string and seeing when they can throw out a Dragon Rush. We're not being aware of the situations and all the options that are in there. That's what I mean by this. We have to instead open up our minds and think about what is possible in these different situations. So, how can we start preparing for these situations? Well, they're training mode, of course. So let's go ahead and show a few examples of training up our fundamental defense against the universal mix-ups. That's what I'm going to call like the next couple of actions that we're going to explore. Well, Mangaka, what do you mean by universal mix-ups? I mean universal mix-ups that the cast has. It's universal. Any character can do this in the game. So to show, for example, Base Vegeta has a couple of recordings. We're going to go through 5. The first one is run up Dragon Rush. The second is run up 6M. The third is going to be run up Tick Throw into Dragon Rush with a 2L, 5L. He's also going to run up Tick Throw 2L, 5L, and 6M. So he's kind of like creating like this mix up in the sense of, am I going for an overhead or am I going to throw you? The fifth recording is an important one. This is where he staggers. He waits a moment, gets us to maybe think about like a mash out or something, and he frame traps us with a 2M that then combos or ends in a block string. So what we're going to do, we're going to set all this to repeat randomly. By the way, if you want to set up these recordings for yourself, make these your enemy settings. Pose to crouch, guard all, not first only, I was doing something else, and Dragon Rush cancel. That way, when you're recording with the bot, your player character will tech the throw, and then you can have the bot chase after you to continue the recordings. We're going to start from one corner, and we're going to see if I can go coast to coast. And that's the idea. You're just not mashing out, we're not trying to do anything, we're just training ourselves to react, and already I got hit. Vegeta's very stubborn with the command throws, and on the second attempt, a 6M and a Dragon Rush. Even I'm having a little hard time this day, but I want to see how far I can go. And again, the idea here is that we're not trying to mash out, we're not trying to pick an option, we're looking at base Vegeta, we're seeing what he does, and we're responding with the safest thing. And geez Louise, I need you to calm down there, buddy. See, he was trying to condition me. That's all that was. All right, he's back to the overheads. Back to a Dragon Rush. Is he gonna stagger me for once? I wonder if he will. Wow, all right, very repetitive, but, and that's why I never had the 5th recording turn on. That would help if we had that on. So make sure that you have all the recordings playing. But that's the idea of it, is that just back to back, you're going to be dealing with mix-ups. This is to simulate the mental exhaustion that can occur in a fighting game. With Dragon Ball FighterZ, we use assist to reset pressure and go for another mix. So you have to train yourself to block back to back to back to back to back and just be patient through it. Again, like, you could do like some riskier things, like you could go for, like, you know, reflect here, but if he goes for a Dragon Rush, which he so conveniently did right there on random, then you're just gonna get hit. So that's why you want to train yourself to just be safe, don't get fidgety, and just weather out the storm. Now, mangaka, you might say, can this work for other mix-ups? And absolutely it can. Let's bring in Broly, for example. So Broly, we're gonna set Broly here to do a block string into his medium command throw. Now, his medium command throw is important here because of the frame data that's involved and why I'm picking this one. So we're going to do just a quick demonstration of how fast it is. Here it said 34 frames, interestingly enough. With this recording, it's 24 frames. Now, on recording 2, we're going to set him to do a 5H. This one's about 27 frames, it says, for the startup because of the pause that we did. So these aren't like, this isn't like a real 50-50, but the idea here is that Broly's command throws are masked by his 5H. They have a similar animation. If you look at his 5H in a second, I'm gonna go ahead and turn off all this stuff as well. If we look at Broly mixing us here, we'll see that his command throw has an open hand position, where his 5H right there has a closed hand when he raises it back. Right there he did it so that you can look at the two actually. There's the 5H, and there's the command throw. And the idea here is just to see if we can chill and block the 5H. I'm actually gonna fix this recording too. With a little pause here, he holds it for a second. That way it looks a little more convincing. I wasn't a fan of like the initial take. This one looks a little better. And we're just gonna see if we react, you know? So right now I'm just looking. There's the command throw. Again, this is fundamentally reactable, but until you train yourself to deal with these options and to identify the animations, you're gonna get hit probably every single time unless you're wiggling and happen to call it out by that. But that's, again, that's not being defensive, that's just being fidgety. And being fidgety can get you in trouble. So that's how you can start training to deal with those kinds of mix-ups. You can go even further and you can add mix-ups where, like, maybe like with Base Vegeta, for example, you add layers where he goes for like a cross-up ki blast, you know, can react to him jumping over you in situations while you're looking for 6 Sims in Dragon Rush. Adding layers like that is a good way of also honing your defense. Alright, mangaka, you might be saying, that all sounds good, but what about like 50-50s, you know, the real mix in the game? So I got 2 recordings right here. I'm going to turn on my inputs as well before Base Vegeta gets carried away. And what we have here is we have a 50-50. You'll see that I'm mashing reflect here. Now, in this recording, it turns out that there's a little gap after his overhead that I can reflect on. But for more importantly, for his low, the initial overhead isn't reflectable, and this initial low also isn't reflectable. It's real. I can't reflect out or mash out, reversal out. I have to hold it. It doesn't make sense to practice it in training mode like this? No, because ultimately you're just guessing. Now, you might be able to look at a certain setup and be like, okay, mid-screen, this works as like a reel, but like if this is Bardock B assist, Bardock B would push us back, and Base Vegeta wouldn't be able to get a low 2L. In fact, he barely got a low 2L there with Kid Buu. So maybe we prioritize just blocking high because it looks like he has an easier time converting it. Maybe we make a decision like that. I don't recommend it for this particular setup, but maybe there's other setups that we do that for. The other thing that we can do is that we can look at defensive options that get us out of this situation before it ever occurs. One option, right off the top of our heads, is going for a guard cancel. Trying to time it so that his heavy there whiffs and he can't go into the special, and then we punish him there. This, of course, has a risk because if we have Base Vegeta take a turn on defense for a moment, If we just run up and they guard cancel too soon when the enemy's staggering, we then get a medium combo to punish it. So we have to be careful about this option. And some setups may even be safe to guard cancels. You have to test these things out and find out for yourself and be aware of whether or not that this could be an option for you. Okay, well, what about another defensive option? First off, I'm going to have to bring Vegeta back in. Another option that we could use, see he commits the assist and we spark out. Now, this does get us out of the mix, but there are some limitations to this. Vegeta, calm down. Jeez Louise, man. I get it. It's Goku, but I need you to chill for this, man. We're recording right now. We only get 1 spark per game, and so we have to decide when we're going to use that spark. Spending spark might not be the right call. We have to kind of look at the game state to really make a decision. So with Goku here, if I got him at like 20% HP, I don't think I'm going to spark for him. But maybe I say, you know what, I'd rather have a level 2 spark to try and get back into the game and see if I can just block the mix randomly, you know? Maybe instead, if Goku has something like 61% health, and base Vegeta has like 3 bars a meter, so he has level 3 on deck, and if he hits this mix-up, it's going to be a 50-50 into another 50-50. So maybe I say, no, let's not let you snowball. Let's stop it right there and play neutral out and see if I can get back into the game this way. So that's kind of like the idea, is looking at those game states and deciding how you spend these resources and where you use them. Well, okay, Mangaka, that's for a 50-50, but what about something that's like unreactable? And yeah, 50-50 is unreactable, but I'm talking about something like this. If Broly would behave a little bit. We're going to turn on the frame advantage again. So Broly has a light command throw. Enemy info, Mangaka, that's what we really need right now. 17 frames. This is 2 to 3 frames faster than Dragon Rush. That's really scary, and it's genuinely unreactable. Well, when can Broly do this? Well, he can tick throw in this off of any of his normals. He has to pause manually and open that at the delay. So there's no reacting to it. It's too fast. But again, you can look at the game state and make up your mind as to whether or not you can take that hit. For example, if I heal Goku, you know, toss him a Zenzu Bean that he doesn't give to an enemy. Say he's at like 90% health. Broly's got like 3 bar meter. And lol, Broly's trying to mix his base Vegeta style. That's a little amusing, actually. So let's say Broly runs up to us and he hits us with this setup, right? Well, at this much health, maybe I don't worry about it. Maybe it's like, okay, I can kind of take that hit. I'm not going to really worry about it so much. But maybe in a situation where, I'm adjusting the wrong stat, but maybe in a situation where we got like 50% HP, and Z Broly, actually I'm going to make it like 44%. And Broly runs up and tick throws us. Like, this would kill us, pretty much. So maybe when our health is that low, maybe then we're more aware of Broly pausing his staggers and trying to jump them. Maybe we were more worried about him doing a command throw, and instead we call it out with a read. And instead of taking that mix, we jump it. So he runs up, I'm afraid of it, or I'm just gonna jump. It's just a preemptive choice. Now he's just gonna sit there on this recording and laugh at us. But that's kind of like the idea there. Now, it's not the end-all be-all answer because Z Broly could also Tiger Knee and EX command throw here, but we have to show him that we're willing to jump first for him to consider that option, or at least for most players to consider that option. And again, there's some rock, paper, scissors. It's not an end-all be-all answer, but at the very least, you're trying to think about the game state and trying to think about what your opponent is doing. That's the key. You have an open mind. You're awake and you're inquiring about everything. What's my health look like? What does my opponent do? What reward does my opponent get on hit? That's what you have to think about in order to take your defense to the next level. So, that's just a couple of ideas to feed for you all as well, my friends. There's certainly more states in the game that you can look at and consider, and more ways to approach this, but consider this just as a way to whet your appetite and get you to think about defense in a different way. And the whole point of this is to get yourself to a point where the opponent has to rely on tools like this in order to open you up. We have one more recording here, a very special recording. So base Vegeta here, he's going to try to mix us with solo options. Here's a 6M. He's going to stagger us. He's looking for us to maybe wiggle or something like that, but I'm not worried. You know, no, you got to open me up, dude. Like, I'm winning this game. I don't have to take a risk. He's starting to throw out some funny 6Ms. He's doing this. Okay, that's an odd Dragon Rush to say the least. All right, now he's kind of going in. Again, he's doing weird staggers. Now he's throwing out his own, like, little overheads. He's trying to get us to wiggle. Ooh, he tried there again. And behold, you know, maybe we can call him out at some point and punish him really hard. Now, to call myself out, this is a recording. I do know what base Vegeta is going to do, when, and I can deal with it. But all these options that he did, they're fundamentally reactable. And because I'm not taking a risk, I'm not trying to wiggle out with a vanish or a mash, I'm not letting him get a hit that he didn't earn. Instead, I'm turtling up and I'm saying, you have to crack me open. I'm not going to wiggle because you're just going to make me block. No, I'm okay blocking. I'm winning. Why do I have to do anything? And he's going to get antsy. He's going to try to do desperate things to open us up. And at some point, he's going to overextend and we can punish him for that. That's what our defense needs to look like. That's if you want to be at like a really strong competitive player, you have to be able to believe in your defense and be able to turtle up in moments like that so then you don't force yourself to lose and throw the game away when you get a lead like that. That's the point of this one. Furthermore, too, being able to deal with these reactable mix-ups, the 6Ms, the Dragon Rushes, the command throws, mean that opponents can't just rely on opening you up with those. If someone realizes that you can't tech Dragon Rushes or block 6Ms, they're going to abuse that, and you're going to lose a game, and you're going to sit there and be like, I lost a 6M. Wow. That's what this is all for. Just like we practice combos, just like we practice mix-ups, just like we practice setups, we too have to practice our defense. If we're not training our reactions and training ourselves to defend actively, to look at what our opponent is doing, we're not going to be as successful as we could be. And that's what I want you to take away from this video. And thank you so much, by the way, for watching it. If you got this far, thank you. It means a lot to me. This is episode 1 of Competitive Concepts. I'm going to be doing more episodes like this in the future, going over all aspects of the game. So if you enjoyed what you saw, I would love if you would left a like, maybe share the video around. You can keep up with me on various other social media like Twitter and Twitch. Links are in the description there. And yeah, if you think you or someone else can benefit from this video, please share it around, leave a comment below with something that you liked, questions that you have, or even recommendations for the other viewers watching this video. I'm CD Mangaka. Thank you so much. I'll catch you soon, my friends.